What's up YouTube, BigSweetC here with you today. Got another special little video for you. We're gonna continue along the lines of what we were talking about last time. I did show you guys my rebuild, the beginning, halfway point of the rebuild of the assassin build in Dark Souls 3, and I just wanted to bring up a couple of things that I tend to get asked a lot, actually. How do you do this? How do you make a build? All this kind of stuff. I mean, there's really no rhyme or reason to it. You just kind of go with the flow if you want. There's no set rules on how to build a character. But I have built probably 5 or 6 of these guys now over the different platforms, actually probably more like 14 or 15 characters if you count all the Dark Souls games that I've played. And throw in Bloodborne in there as well. I've made a couple of characters over there. So there are a couple of things that I have picked up as I've gone along, and I thought I would share those with you. The number one rule that I kind of go into is I try to have a plan. So in this case, I went in just trying to imagine how I would redo an assassin character. So I went in there trying to work an assassin build, and what that means is I'm trying to focus on their strengths. Their strengths are dexterity and intelligence, so that's kind of what I stuck with. Other times it's a weapon that I want to use, the twin Goddard greatswords, or you know, maybe I want to use the claymore, or a specialty weapon that you earn from defeating a boss. If that's the case, what I would do is I would look up the stats, and I would get to those stats first, and then I would work around those stats. Generally speaking, every weapon that you have is going to be an A or a B in one category, and then probably a D or an E in another. You want to focus, if you want to use that weapon, you want to focus on the A or B stat, because when you level that weapon up, it's going to go to an A, possibly an S. But you don't want to necessarily ignore the secondary factor that buffs up the weapon, gives it a little more oomph to it. So if there's a specific weapon that you're using, I would look at what it scales with and focus on those two. And then perhaps there's a certain armor set that you want to go for. Now, I never really build anything around armor sets. I don't do the whole cosplay thing that much. But if you were going to do it on a set, then you'd probably want to focus on vitality at first to get that weight limit up, and figure out what rings can help you, what items can help you. And there's absolutely great websites to help you plan all this stuff out. First of all, there's the Dark Souls wiki. You know, they have a special wiki for, there's actually 2 or 3 wikis for the first one. Then they have a couple of wikis for the second one, and then they have a few wikis for the third guy. Dark Souls, if you Google Dark Souls 3 wiki, something will pop up. Dark Souls 2 wiki, something will pop up. Dark Souls wiki, something will pop up. And then they also have character planner websites as well. The one that I typically use when I'm using them, I believe it's called Mugen Monkey, MUGENMONKE. But if you just start Google again, Dark Souls character builder, it'll be like one of the first 2 or 3 options that you have of websites to check out. Now that website's pretty cool because it will actually it'll let you put the stats in that you want to get them up to, see what weapons you can and cannot use, what spells. It'll show you, you know, what your attack rating will be, what your defense will be, how many attunement spells you'll be able to have, all that kind of stuff. The character builder website is very, very good, useful tool to get yourself started, and then just stick with it. You know, there's going to be moments. I'm in that middle tier to end tier moment where it's like, well, nothing I do now is going to dramatically improve my character, so I just kind of have to keep pushing forward until I get to that next threshold, because there are thresholds. I've brought this up multiple times. In Dark Souls 3, and this is kind of how I play it in all games. In all Dark Souls, the soft cap is generally around level 40, and then they have a hard cap of around 60 usually. It's a little different in Bloodborne. They have different soft and hard caps. In Bloodborne, your vigor actually only has a hard cap, but that, you know, another video for another time perhaps. So there are again little variations to the rules of these games, but for the most part, if you know what character you want to build going into it, stick to that character and it'll come out as well as you intended, if not better. I generally, when I'm first starting out, I generally find the four slots that I kind of want to focus on, and then usually 2 of them are vigor and endurance. If they're not, you're either really good at the game, or probably really bad at the game. One of the two. I generally focus on vigor and endurance first. I get those up to the soft cap of 40. And then there's 2 other areas that I like to focus in. Now, before, when I did the Assassin's Creed, it was more of a hybrid build, so we kind of sporadically changed those places. We took out a little bit from vigor and endurance, put a little bit into strength and faith instead. We put a little bit into attunement as well, which I haven't done in this one because I'm focusing on my 4 slots. Although in this game, I'm probably really going to focus on 1. So if I go to 4, I hit the soft cap and everything. If I'm doing a skill focused build like we are in this one, I will get up the other stats just enough to use the stuff that I want. But my 1 stat, I will go up to 60, the hard cap. And what I mean by that is, so up until 40. The soft cap, every time you invest into that category, you get a fairly significant increase in your ability. Once you hit 40, it slims down to about half of what you would get for every level you invest. Then when you hit 60, it's basically 90% is gone. So every time you go from 60 to 61 to 62 to 63, you're really only giving yourself about a 10 to 15, maybe 20% increase if you hit that 10, that 70, 80, 90, 100. Technically 99 is the highest you can go. But once you hit that 10 round plateau, you do kind of get a little bit more of a buff. But for the most part, anything after 60, probably not worth the amount of investing in souls that you need unless you're going for just an ultimate character. And those are cool too. I know a lot of people that have 1 character, they play through the game 7 or 8 times, they get up to a level 250, 300, and that's just how they play the game. So again, there is no right, wrong. There is no this is how you're supposed to do it, this is how you don't. But these are just kind of my general guidelines, because I do like to hit the meta cap and not go really any farther. Just because I really enjoy the PvP, the invading and the getting invaded, and the undead matches. So the best way to stay connected is to be roughly level 60 to 120. That is like your box of highly competitiveness. Obviously, if you go up to 150. You'll probably still be able to get some people, but not as much. If you're below 60, you'll probably still get a ton of people, but you probably won't be competitive enough to make it fun. So that's why they have the meta cap. They have this range of levels for people to be in, to make sure that you can connect with everybody as easy as possible. So now, having said that, if this is your first time playing, I wouldn't listen to anything I was saying except for I do highly recommend vigor and endurance. Being able to take more damage, being able to do more attacks is only going to help you in the long run. Those are the 2 areas that I do kind of focus on as a new player, and I suggest that for new players. But in that case, figure out your playstyle first. You might not like the weapons you start off with, so you find something that's better suited to your playstyle, and you're going to have to evolve around that. So if you're a beginning player, I wouldn't worry too much about what build you have at the end. But if you are trying to try a build for maybe the first time, maybe again, these are just kind of tips and tricks that I like to use. So again, I focus on, am I going for a weapon type character, or am I going for a specific class type character? And that's where I start. Then I kind of plan ahead. I imagine I'm going to have 40 in vigor and endurance, and then I decide, do I want to be a dex build, do I want to be a strength build, an intelligence build, a faith build, and I focus on 1 or 2 categories for the rest of the playthrough. Whether that be both of them get up to the soft cap at 40, or maybe one goes up just enough to use a couple of spells and the other goes up to the hard cap of 60. That is, you know, pick your poison. That's how you want to play. But I just thought I would dish this out, because I'm always getting asked, you know, how do you make a build? The key is preparation. It's knowing what you want when you go into it, and sticking to your plan. Like I said, don't let that mid game to end game bring you down, because that's easily the hardest part. When you start building a character, you'll notice dramatic increases up to about level 60, 70, and then between like 60, 70, and 120, you're gonna get minuscule returns, and that won't be as visible until you get up to about that 120 cap. So now the idea here, those are the keys. The one thing you do want to keep in mind is you're probably going to make some mistakes. Don't worry. I've built 15, 16 different characters throughout these games. I still make a mistake. I've already made a mistake on this character that I'm building here, and I'm going to have to go back and refix things, but I want some storylines to play out first, so I can't quite do it just yet. But don't worry about any mistakes. They're easily rectifiable. You can go to Rosaria, and she can respin you up to 5 times per playthrough. So just have fun with it. You know, just have fun. Don't worry about the mistakes. You can correct them later. Be careful with it. Have fun with it. Be creative with it. You know, I've seen a lot of cool builds out there that I would never personally use because they're just not my play style. But they do inspire me to try different things. So I encourage you guys all to check it out, do your best, and if you have anything you want to show me out, see what I can do, or you have any comments on build types, hit the comment section below. I always love talking about builds. Actually, my two highest rated videos here on YouTube are the old Assassin's Creed 3, the old Assassins build from Dark Souls 3, and then our Strength Arcane build from Bloodborne. So I love talking about them. I get messages about them all the time. So if you have a build in mind, if you want me to go over it, or if you have a suggestion that you think I should try out in one of my other characters that I've already finished, hit it up with a comment below and let me know. Otherwise, hit that like button so everybody hits this video. And be sure to hit that sub button if you haven't subscribed to the old YouTube channel. If you want the live streams, head on over to Twitch at BigSweetC. You can find me there. And then I am on Instagram and Twitter. Instagram is more of my personal life. Twitter is more of my politics side. So just a heads up, if you're not into politics, probably don't follow me on Twitter. just a warning. Either way, that's going to do it for this one. BigSweetC, that's me. Wishing YouTube, that's you. Wonderful day, night, morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it might be. Long as you're watching, I'm wishing you a wonderful watching time. Sweetness, signing off. Peace.